Hey, what's up YouTube? It's the Mermail Master coming at you with a quick deck profile, special outside deck profile from the Team Time Riders YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be profiling a budget Fiend stun deck. Now this deck is actually really good in the meta currently, specifically because we're in a format that's a make or break meta. Now I don't know what's going to happen with ban lists coming down to nationals and whatnot, but the important thing about this deck is that it's a great deck, it's really cheap to build, it's easy to learn, and it will give your opponent a hell of a lot of trouble. Good matchups against Monarchs, Cosmos, Mermails, lots of effect negation. Now I was actually inspired to put this deck together from MCole40's video on his channel, and I think that it has a lot of potential, especially like if you're someone who doesn't have too much money to spend on all of the best decks, to really build something that might be good for the meta. Now, of course, when you're building the deck, you can throw in, for instance, Card of Demise if you wanted, or maybe even a couple of lose one turns. But the build I'm going to show you today is going to be a budget build. A little bit later, I'm going to do a revamped deck profile of this deck with Card of Demise and lose one turn in there. A little bit more of like a actual deck profile, but in the meantime, let me just get down to the deck. So to start things off, this is sort of a Fiend stun deck, so we're going to start off with Invader of Darkness. Invader of Darkness is in here because he is just basically a 2900 beater, gets over a lot of things, but he negates quick play spell cards. Your deck runs a lot of traps, so Twin Twisters is going to be a constant problem or thorn in your side. So it's great to have this card in the deck. Next card, of course, is 3 Majesty's Fiend, Monster Negation, self-explanatory, and 2 Vanity's Fiend, Special Summon Negation, and then the final monster for the deck is going to be a Thunder King for Searching Negation. If you have one of your level 6 Fiends, Thunder King, and a Invader of Darkness on a field, and you've pretty much won the game from there. Now, moving on to spells. I think this is probably the biggest part of the deck because there's the most amount of stuff to do. As I said, if you have the Card of Demise in here, the deck was built to best utilize Card of Demise and power through to get a lot of back row. But it works perfectly fine without it. So starting things off, we have 3 Pot of Duality, self-explanatory, search your deck, and the 3 field spell, Mausoleum of the Empire. At the price of 1,000 life points, you basically can summon any one of your fiends. So you just pay 1,000, summon a fiend to the field, and yeah. 2 terraforming. Thinking about bumping this up to 3, but you can search the spell. 2 Stormforth. I know one's gold and one's not. Oh well. 2 Forbidden Lance. Self-explanatory, mostly protect from spells and traps. So your monsters are mostly protected from monster effects, but you have to have a lot of stuff in there that can deal with all contingencies. So you're going to see some picks in here, maybe a little bit unorthodox, to deal with spells and traps. Enemy Controller. Thinking about taking this out, but I'm liking it so far as just basically a general stun option. Dimensional Fissure. Protects against like Monarchs or Mermails or sort of any other deck that can give you trouble. Seal of Orichalcos. This is actually a great stun card for the deck. If you have like Vanities and Majesty's Fiend backed up by a couple of back rows, this can really put a lot of damage on board. In addition, it'll power up your Invader of Darkness over Dark Destroyer, so that's also very helpful. 1 Field Barrier, self-explanatory, protects your Orichalcos, protects your Mausoleum, but the main reason that I run Field Barrier is actually for its second effect, which is that new field spell cards cannot be activated, which means if your opponent can't out this, or you bribe it, or you negate their spell card in some way, shape, or form, they can't play a Cosmo Town, they can't play a Domain, they can't play a new field spell, so it's just an extra element to that stun that really helps give the deck a little bit more staying power in the current format. And then the final spell we have is one Upstart Goblin to, self-explanatory. Now, moving on to the traps. The first trap, this was actually, I got this from the MCOL40 video, Phantom Knight Sword. Boost by 800 attack power, and the monster cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And I don't really need to explain just how good this card is. If you have one of these backed up by something else, like chain this to a torrential tribute, or some kind of mass removal that your opponent has, boosts all your monsters up by 800 attack power. This is a really, really good card in general. And it also does not negate the monster's effect like Fogblade, which is the reason why I have it here instead. Dark Bribe. This is the card in this deck. Negates every spell or trap card with Vanities, Majesties, and Thunder King. Very, very vulnerable to spell cards and trap cards and stuff. You're going to need to have your Dark Bribe, and you're going to need to know when to activate them. You're going to need and use all three. Solemn Warning, self-explanatory. Negation, Compulse. Still, I think it's a pretty good card. Macrocosmos, same as Defissure. Bottomless Trap Hole, Destroy and Banish. Taking in one Rivalry of Warlords right now. Really, really good against Cosmos, good against Monarchs, good against pretty much every deck in the format that has multiple types. So, just a good all-around stun card, and the fact that you're main decking it is something that really not a lot of people may see coming. Putting in one Sinister Yorishiro. This is actually one of my favorite cards. It is a terrible card from Ultra Rare from Shadow Specters when it came out, but puts in a lot of work here. Basically allows you to normal summon a level 5 or higher Fiend type monster once per turn without tributing. So you don't have to pay any life points, and then if your Fiend type monster would be destroyed by like a battle or a card effect, you can just send the Sinister Yorishiro to the graveyard instead. So just a lot of extra blanket protection. You only have 7 monsters in the deck, so making sure that they all live is of tantamount importance. Got one Call of the Haunted. You can't rebind your Vanities or Majesties Fiend, but being able to chain this to special summon Invader of Darkness to negate an MST, or to chain it to special summon Thunder King when your opponent activates like a Rhoda, or like some kind of search effect, can be sometimes game ending actually. So it's really, really good to have this. Vanity's Emptiness, because we've pretty much got every Vanities in here under the sun. Malevolent Catastrophe. You may think this might be like an out-of-place card to have in the deck, but in testing I found that it's very good, especially for stopping, domain plays, or, plays where your opponent needs to attack. Just generally found it to be a decent, if not very good card. And then finally, Grand Horn of Heaven to round out the rest of the monster count. So that is the main deck. 40 cards. As I mentioned, I'm going to be doing an updated list of this, having all of the, the lose one turns, Card of Demise, Fiendish Chain, whatever other kinds of more expensive cards you can put in here. You can also have Solemn Strike in here. I know it's not too good at the moment, but it is something that you can consider. I've seen builds running Christia, as well as like some of the barrier statues as well. So just generally, like, these stun variants can help to push back your opponent, create openings for you to summon more monsters, and it's just easy to learn in general. It's a fantastic deck all around. So this has been the Mermail Master, and I will be signing out. Subscribe to Team Time Riders, and make sure to comment, rate, and like the video. Thank you.